Speaking of super.
Super time to end this show.
Pickle. I know you told me this in confidence off of the off air, but I want to bring this to the air because Pickle, she grabbed me by the collar.
Yes, per usual.
And she threw me up against the wall.
All facts.
And she said, I know what I say on the air, but that's not how I feel. I actually love this segment.
Oh, that is whoa!
So it is
whoa,
with great
fake news.
pride and respect for my producer.
Lowercase J journalism.
We bring back
Terrible.
America's favorite segment, Free Money!
You cannot lead into America's
Free
worst segment
money!
with a lie.
My college football picks against the spread. Last week we went 3-3. We would have gone 4-3 if the UTEP game didn't get canceled. I know we would have, but we're going to take that 3-3. We're 24-16 on the year. But there's a huge, huge week. Is it 9 games?
It's a giant slate.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games. 9 games. Huge games all across the state. Most of them out of state, actually.
Yes.
Oklahoma, North Carolina, Maryland, and Utah. Anyway.
Most everyone is playing.
Yes, most everybody's playing. Including one team we haven't seen yet. But we'll get to them. What's our first game, Pickle?
Up first on the docket, a Big 12 matchup. TCU at Oklahoma, 11 a.m. on Saturday. OU favored by 6.5 in Norman.
So here's what I don't get about this game.
I am confusion.
Because both of these teams are so Jekyll and Hyde in these games. Or in this season. If you go to the Oklahoma side, Oklahoma has, for all of their hemming and hawing, for 75% of each of their games in the Big 12, for 75% of them, even in their losses, they have been dominant.
Yep.
They've been really good. But they've just coughed it up in that other 25%. TCU has been so good lately, and especially late in that win over Texas. And yet, if you go to that game against Kansas State, that was just off. They were never in that game. So which one is going to stand up? Obviously, one of the big headlines here is going to be the Oklahoma offense against the TCU defense. Gary Patterson does have 2 weeks to prepare for this, which is interesting to me. But you're also asking TCU to go on the road. Yep. And I think that's a big ask. Now, they did that against Texas.
Max Duggan has got to run the ball.
Max Duggan's got to run it.
There's your key.
I think they've got to be able to establish, play a little bit of ball control, convert third downs. I'm going to take Oklahoma. I like Oklahoma minus 6.5 because I think I like them by about a touchdown. I'm going to take OU minus 6.5. I think TCU can absolutely win this game if they can just kind of get OU chasing a little bit. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma minus 6.5 in this one. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we've got a Conference USA matchup between your UTEP Miners. We're very excited to see back on the field at Charlotte, 11 a.m. on Saturday. 49ers favored by 14.5.
So, Charlotte's finally playing their first home game, which is weird because it's October 22nd, but 2020. And by the way, they're in Conference USA, so it's neither here nor there. They've been on the road. They finally get a spot at home. My question is going to be, what happens when Charlotte tries to stop UTEP running the ball? Because UTEP's running game has been mostly a disappointment this year. I would say it's mostly been a disappointment this year. But they've been able to pass the ball a little bit, and that's going to be interesting. Like, can they find some sort of running game to keep them going? UTEP, I think, is overachieved. I think it's fair to say that UTEP's overachieved.
Hop on the minor train.
We've been pretty impressed with them. They've overachieved. But I think that Charlotte finally coming home, finally getting an opportunity. 14.5 makes me nervous, though. 14.5 makes me real nervous.
UTEP's got to stop the run.
Yeah,
if they can't stop the run, Charlotte's their running back's going to just go.
They got to stop the run, and furthermore, they've got to be able to run the ball against. They were able to run the ball against Louisiana Monroe, but Louisiana Monroe's defense is trash horse. So I would say – so I've got Charlotte underlined here, but 14.5 is scaring me off. I'm going to go to UTEP. I think UTEP keeps this thing within 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go UTEP. I think they keep this thing close enough to win. I don't think they win outright, but I think that they lose by 14 on the dot. So I'm going to go with UTEP. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, sticking with Conference USA. You scared me. Middle Tennessee coming to take on Tepper's favorite Owls. In Rice, we've got 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. Will we finally get to see the Owls play because they are favored by 3.5 in their first game of the season? Okay, go ahead and let out shed a tear for me.
We get to watch Rice.
I know how excited you are.
Our buddy Bloom finally gets to play football. Yeah. How about that? Rice is going to play a game on October 24th.
Yeah.
Rice will play their first game of the year. To reiterate, to put this in perspective, I'm going to pull this up. This is the 2020 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Okay?
And it is still completely prevalent to your Rice Owls.
Right, because it was just the preview, right? Rice was supposed to play their first game, oh my gosh, on September 3rd against Houston.
Mm-hmm.
September 3rd. It is October 22nd, and we're finally going to see the Rice Owls. Okay, so let's start with Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is a bad team. They're not good.
As you would say, it was a colossal pooping last week
It was
for
just
them.
a colossal pooping. They are not good. Okay, Middle Tennessee is a bad football team. They're a bad football team. They are a team, especially defensively, that is terrible. And they are terrible against the run, which is what Rice should be able to start doing.
Yep.
Okay? We feel like they're going to be able to establish the run. We feel like that offensive line is taking a step forward. We feel like they're going to be able to do that. There are questions. They're going to have Mike Collins at the quarterback spot, the TCU transfer. We think that he's going to be able to take a step forward and get that offense going. One of the questions is going to be on the defensive side. Is we thought that it was going to take a little bit of seasoning for this Rice defense to get going. That is a big question. There's also just the fact of the matter that this is Middle Tennessee's 7th game of the season.
Yep.
And Rice's first. So that is there. But you know what?
Do it. Be the homer.
Hoot.
Be the homer.
Rice wins. I think Rice might win going away.
Adding to their hottest team in Texas streak. This would be their 4th straight consecutive win.
They've won 3 straight. They can get 4 in a row. They can start to catch up to SMU, who's off to a
only
good
like
start.
over a year later.
Yes. Yes. I like Rice minus 3.5. Go Owls.
Hoot hoot, baby.
What's next?
Up next, we will go to Houston playing at Navy, 2:30 p.m. Saturday. Houston favored on the road by 14 over the troops.
Over the troops. Over the
a
ocean.
Different set of troops.
Over the ocean troops.
Than last
over the
week.
ocean troops.
The aqua troops.
Aqua troops. Okay. So, I think one of the big questions in this one is like for all we talk about the triple option, which is a pain. Navy has not figured out a quarterback. Their offense has only been okay a lot at that triple option. But as much as we were worried about Houston not being able to stop the run against BYU, like, how do I want to say this? Being able to stop the run is not necessarily the same skill set as being able to stop the triple option.
Correct.
Like that's its own game.
Right.
Playing the triple option is its own game. So a lot of this just comes down to how well the Houston linebackers play. Like plain and simple. Do they stick on their do they stay on their on their get off blocks and do they make plays? That's one big question in this one. The other thing I will say though is that Navy, their defense has been okay. It's been okay. And I think that they are going to be able to challenge. I think there's a fair argument to be made that this will be the best defense that they've played. I think it's as good maybe as BYU. And so when you're asking me to bet against a double-digit home dog troops, I'm just not going to do it.
No.
I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take the double-digit home dog. I'm going to take Navy plus 14 in this one. I do think Houston wins, but I think they win something like 38-31.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah, 14's a big line.
14's a lot, especially for a home dog. So I'm going to go with Navy plus 14. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, some Big 12 action that we were extremely skeptical as to whether or not this game was actually going to happen. But supposedly, we've got Baylor at Texas, 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. The Horns favored by 8.5 at home.
Well, you can't say Baylor's not rested.
Yeah, they've had some time
Baylor
off.
will be playing its first game in 3 weeks. The last time they played was October 3rd. Obviously, they had a bye week, and then they had COVID issues. And so
Lots of it.
there's a lot of different moving parts there. They are one of the things that is going to have to come to fruition here. Baylor is going to have to throw the ball farther than 5 yards. Mm-hmm. I think part of it, I don't know if they trust. I can't figure out what Larry Fedora is doing with Charlie Brewer because I don't think Charlie Brewer became a bad quarterback overnight.
No.
I think part of it is that they don't trust the offensive line to give him time. I think there's a little bit of trust issues with Charlie Brewer, although he's never been loose with the football, which is weird. This Texas secondary is trash. It's very bad. And so they should be able to push the ball down the field. Can they do that? And that's one big question. The other side of it, and the big headline matchup here is obviously, I think it's the Baylor defense against this Texas offense, because the Texas offense has been spectacular.
Yes.
Texas offense has been.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about Texas right now, their offense has not been a problem.
And they are able to play 48 minutes.
Right. I think so. One of the things that I will say is I do think that Texas plays to their competition. Okay? If you're asking me right now who's a better football team, I think Texas is better than Baylor. Okay? But I also thought they were better than TCU.
And that didn't go over well.
And they play. I think this is a team that plays to the level of their competition.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think that they're going to be stuck in tight games. And so if you're asking me, can Texas beat Baylor by 2 possessions? No, I don't think so. Especially even at home. I'm going to go with Baylor plus 8.5. I do think Texas wins a squeaker, but there's too many things. There's too many doubts I have about this Texas team to go and blow a team away. Mm-hmm. And I will say this: if they go out there and they blow Baylor out of the water, I will change my tune real quickly. Right. But right now, what we've seen so far is basically outside of UTEP, who they were just way overmatching. Every other game they've played to the level of their competition. Right. And they have not been able to just pull away from a team. I would love to see them pull away from a team. I think that Baylor keeps this thing close. I'm going to take Baylor plus 8.5. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, sticking with the Big 12 West, by God, Virginia headed over to Red Raider land to take on Texas Tech, 4:30 p.m. Saturday. The Mountaineers favored by 3 on the road.
So West Virginia, I think you could probably categorize as a pleasant surprise in the Big 12. Yeah. In a year where the Big 12 is bad, the West Virginia is probably the most pleasant surprise.
They're just doing what they need to
3-1. They are 2 teams that the offense has come around, but I think that their defense is exceptional. Okay, pass rush has been excellent. The run defense has been very good, and the defense, the other thing about them is that they are excellent on third down. They get you off the field. Now, I think there's a fair argument to be made that Texas Tech is the best offense that they have faced so far this season, but Tech is also going through their own different problems. They've benched apparently Alan Bowman. I was about to say Matthew Baldwin.
No.
Alan Bowman.
Wrong. Close.
Another oft injured quarterback.
Yes.
Alan Bowman. They benched him. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what's going on, but they're going to go with Henry Colombi. And look, I will say that Henry Colombi's been good in overall, but you are now asking a backup quarterback to go up against one of the best defenses in the nation. Certainly one of the best defenses in the Big 12. As a result, the other thing is that I just think that West Virginia's going to be able to move the ball in Tech. I think Tech's defense, earlier in the season I thought that maybe their defense is taking a step forward. I just don't think that's the case. I'm going to take West Virginia by about a touchdown, so I'm going to take West Virginia -3. I think that I think they get the win. I'm going to go WVU -3. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we're headed back to Conference USA as Louisiana Tech travels down to the Alamo Dome to take on UTSA 7 p.m. on Saturday night. La Tech favored by 1.5 on the road.
Yeah, so straight up pick 'em basically.
Yeah.
This is
which makes sense.
And yeah, look, this is a team. I'll just say this, okay? Take a look at UTSA's schedule right now. Let me pull this up real quick. And yeah, they started off 3-0 and now they're 3-3. Okay? So, but you look at the games that they've lost, okay? They lose to UAB by 8 on the road. They lose to BYU, nationally ranked BYU.
Yeah, they were
by
15
7,
at the time.
By 7 on the road. Then they come home and they play the troops, and the troops do what the troops do, 28-16, right? They win by 12, right? But in a game that was really close pretty much the whole game. I will just say this, and this is I can tell you about how I think that UTSA is going to be able to pick off a couple of passes from Louisiana Tech because Louisiana Tech tends to be a little bit loose with the football. But I can tell you a little bit about how I think the UTSA is going to be able to get pressure on their quarterback. I can tell you all that. Here's why I'm taking UTSA plus 1.5. I'm taking them because they're due. Because they're due to have that rubber band snapback. They have now lost 3 pretty winnable games in a row, and they're due to have that snapback. I like UTSA plus 1.5. I know that that's not scientific, but I'm going to go with UTSA plus 1.5.
Well, and you've got to think, too, after playing 2 teams like Army and BYU so closely in a non-conference game, when you know that you have the chance to bounce back in a big-time Western Division conference game, you do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I'm going to go with the UTSA plus 1.5. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we've got number 9, Cincinnati, taking on number 16, SMU, 8 p.m. on Saturday. SMU favored by 2.5 at home.
Yeah, so another really interesting,
this is a good game.
Another game we didn't know if we were going to see. Plain and simple. We didn't know if we were going to see. And here's the big question. So last week, SMU beats Tulane?
Yes.
SMU beats
Barely.
Tulane on a late field goal.
Barely.
And we were saying, all right, wins are wins are wins. You know, you just take them wherever you get them. Like, style points don't matter, which is true. Okay? The question is, we still don't know what the impact of losing TJ McDaniel and, more importantly, Reggie Roberson is going to be on the long term. Did they beat Tulane simply because they were that much better than them? And is Cincinnati the kind of team that is going to be able to
capitalize on them
and expose the fact that they are without their top 2 players or two of their best offensive weapons? That's a big question, okay? One thing I will say is that I think that SMU's offense is going to be a little bit I think SMU has the better offense. I think Cincinnati has the better defense. Bearcats have, I think, one of the best defenses in the country, really. And that's going to be a big challenge for SMU because I don't know if SMU's played an elite defense yet. That's going to be a big question. I think the first quarter of this game is really important because if SMU can jump out to a lead and make Cincinnati chase, that's where they're going to have a big advantage. I think that's the big question. Pony up, baby. Pony up.
Be a homer.
That's it. I think at home, I think they come away with a big win. Night game, I think that they come away with a win. I think they do what they've done kind of all year long, which is that I think they win like by a late field goal.
Yeah, either that or it's going to be a triple overtime game.
Yes, something like that. Here's what I fear, though. I fear that if I'm wrong about this game, I fear I'm big time wrong. I fear that this game is going to be 36-33 SMU, or this game's going to be like 48-14.
It's all.
Cincinnati.
I agree 110% with it. We'll be able to tell which way the tea leaves are reading at the first quarter.
Right. So I'm gonna go with SMU because I'm a state of Texas homer.
Show your boy.
But yeah, there you go.
There he is.
My sweet buddy. I'm gonna go with SMU minus 2.5. And finally, Pickle.
Finally. Yikes. Texas State headed up to take on now number 12 ranked BYU, 9:15 p.m. on Saturday. We got some late night action. BYU favored by 28.
I'm going to go to lsufootball.net/TV schedule. Where is this game being played? Where can you this is on ESPN proper.
Let's go.
This
Heck
is
yeah.
on ESPN. This game, Texas State and BYU, is on ESPN.
Okay, Bobcats, do something.
Wow.
Just do something.
Okay. So if you turn on your television at like 9:30 on ESPN, you'll have Texas State BYU, and on ESPN2 you'll have Cincinnati and SMU.
Okay, that's just awesome. Go Texas State.
Man, that is wild. Okay. Do you know what their
2020.
I'm sorry. Do you know what their lead-in is?
What?
Their lead-in is LSU. It's South Carolina LSU, and then they're gonna cut. They're gonna be like, let's go to Provo to watch Jake Spavital. Awesome.
Let's go.
Okay, so the question is, do you think that BYU is just going to pummel Texas State? Because 28.5 is a beatdown. I want to be very clear. BYU is the better team in this game. That's one question. One thing I do think is interesting, though, is I think that what you saw last week or a couple weeks ago when UTSA played them is their game plan. They can get put out of rhythm and they can get mucked up.
Yes.
This is on the Texas State secondary to come up with a couple of plays and the front to pressure Zach Wilson and get him out of rhythm. With that said, night game in Provo. You know how Provo do.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to take BYU. I like BYU minus 28.5 in this one. I think they're going to win this game pretty comfortably. Unfortunately,
just do something, Bobcats.
Just
That's all we're
on.
asking. At least give me
the
a half.
Give
me a half.
Get the offense going. That's
Yeah.
what I want.
Give me one half.
The offense has got to get going. That's one of the big questions. So there are my free money picks. I like Oklahoma minus 6.5 at home against TCU. I like UTEP plus 14.5 at Charlotte. I like Rice minus 3.5 at home against Middle Tennessee. I like Navy plus 14 at home against Houston. I like Baylor plus 8.5 at Texas. I like West Virginia minus 3 at Texas Tech. I like UTSA plus 1.5 at home against Louisiana Tech. I like SMU minus 2.5 at home against Cincinnati, and I like BYU minus 28.5 at home against Texas State. That's free money.